If brake maintenance is something on your list of things to do, but you want a better performing set than a factory replacement, this PowerStop Z36 Extreme Truck and Tow 6-lug brake rotor and pad kit for the front and rear will be a great choice for your 2019 or newer Silverado 1500. Now this will be a great addition to your truck if your current brakes are worse for wear and you need that extra bite, especially if your setup is at a higher gross weight than stock from armor or equipment, or you're doing any towing or off-roading with your truck. This is also going to be a complete kit with rotors and pads as well as sensors for both the front and rear if you're looking for a one-stop shop for a high-performance braking system. This kit's going to feature a lot of different benefits when it comes to braking performance, including noise-free stopping, so there's little to no annoyance with this set, less brake dust than stock to keep your wheels cleaner, which is a big bonus there, and good ventilation in the rotors to keep the brakes cooler when being worked, even in tough scenarios. Not to mention, these are going to have an incredibly sporty look to them compared to the factory plain face rotors, which really ups the street appeal when it comes to your Silverado. This kit's going to be strong and one that you can rely on when it comes to the construction. Starting off with the rotors, these are going to have a premium cast iron design with drilled and slotted details to again provide better cooling, and they'll feature a zinc plated finish to help with longevity, especially in poor weather conditions. Now the pads here will have a carbon fiber infused ceramic compound, which is specifically tailored to those heavier applications, as it says in the name Extreme Truck and Tow, while also giving you comfortable day-to-day driving characteristics. The kit's also going to come with all stainless steel hardware for good durability and all of the sensors that you need to replace your factory ones, as well as everything else for a straightforward install. Now this kit comes in at around $650, which will put this at more of a premium price point, but is well worth it for what's included. Now when taking a look at other performance brake options, this is going to include everything that you need for the front and the rear to gain that stopping power while getting a lot of quality in the construction. Now I think if your Silverado isn't necessarily in need of a big brake kit, but you still want more than the average brake kit or OE replacement when it comes to components as well as performance, then this one is going to be a great one to consider. Installing this is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and it's probably going to take you about 3 hours to get the job done with the right tools and setup. So that's going to wrap it up for me. We can go ahead and check out a detailed breakdown now on how to get this onto your Silverado at home. So let's jump into the install.
For this install, you will need various ratchets, 14 and 18 millimeter sockets, a T30 Torx bit, caliper hanger tool, blunt and needle nose pliers, a flathead screwdriver, a punch, front and rear caliper compressor tools, an impact driver or air hammer with impact driver attachment, and a hammer. What's up guys? Today we're going to be installing some brakes on our Silverado, so let's get started. So our first step is going to be to remove our pads from our caliper. Now this is a one-piece setup, so these float in here on the sliders. So we're going to head and remove these safety pins and remove our sliders, and then our pads will come right out. So we'll use our needle nose pliers for that. So we'll go ahead and remove our safety pins from our sliders here. So we'll just pull back like this, pull those out. Same thing for the top one. Then we can go ahead and remove our front clip here and remove our sliders. So next we can go ahead and remove our retainer plate for our brake pads, and it helps to have like a flathead screwdriver or something to go ahead and get some extra leverage to pop that out of the way. So we'll just go ahead, give that a pop, and that should come right out. We can set that aside. And once we have that done, we can go ahead and push our sliders back. Sometimes it may get a little stuck and you may need to add some penetrating lubricant in here or something like that, or even just give it a few taps with like a punch or something like that to go ahead and get those out. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So we've got a punch here and a ball peen hammer. We're just gonna lightly tap on this just to kind of persuade it out a little bit. We'll do the same thing with the other one just to give it a little extra. And then we can come in with a set of pliers and go ahead and pull these out. So we've got our pliers here. We're gonna go ahead and grab onto our sliders and work those out. As you can see, these do tend to get corroded, so when we go to put on our new ones, we'll add some lubricant and stuff. Always helps out extending the life in these and also preventing premature wear on your brake pads themselves if they get stuck. Now that we've got those aside, we can begin working our brakes out. So here again, it's good to have some extra leverage. So we got our flathead screwdriver here, and we're gonna work right into the openings where our slider pins were. Just kind of gently work our pads out. They should come out with relatively no issues if you just work with them. So now we've got our front pad out. We'll go ahead and do the same thing for our back pad here. And you can really come from either direction, whatever gives you the best leverage. Go ahead. You want to try to get these out as even as possible because obviously they like to get jammed up if you don't. And we'll go ahead and set these aside. So now we're ready to go ahead and remove our caliper itself. So we'll go ahead and grab our 18mm socket and our ratchet and remove the bottom and top bolts holding the caliper on the knuckle. Now sometimes it's good to leave your bottom bolt in to prevent your caliper from swinging up when you go to try to loosen the other bolt. So we'll just put that back in a couple threads. We'll go ahead and remove both of our caliper bolts. Pull that off of the rotor and knuckle. Then we have our caliper hanger here that we can use to support the weight of our caliper so our brake line doesn't take the brunt of that. So now we're ready to remove the rotor itself, and from the factory they do come with these retainer screws that are pretty solidly in there, so you will need an impact driver or something like that to get them out. Ours has already been removed before, so we'll just use our T30 Torx bit, which is that size, and our ratchet to go ahead and pull that out. And the sole purpose of these screws is to just hold the rotors in place as the vehicle is going down the assembly line so they don't fall off. So there's no actual reason that you want to save these unless you just want to put them back on. It does help hold the rotor in place, but it isn't critical to function. So we'll go ahead, pull our rotor off and set it aside. So now once you've completed this process for this side, you can go ahead and repeat these same steps for the other side. So now we're ready to begin going back together with our new brakes. So we'll go ahead and start with our new rotor. So we'll just slide that onto our studs here. Get that in place. Now we are going to go ahead and reuse our set screw here just to make it easier to hold our rotor in place. Now if you don't have one of these, say if you have a used vehicle or something like that, you can always use a wheel lug nut to help hold your rotor. So our next step is going to be to compress our caliper pistons, and to do that we're going to grab our compressor tool here. Now this is a specific style setup for the dual piston setup that we have here. So we'll go ahead and get this in to our caliper here. So we've got it in here and we're just going to crank on it. Go ahead and compress our pistons. It tends to get a little wonky, so you want to make sure it stays lined up on your pistons. Easier said than done sometimes. And once you have them compressed, go ahead. Release it enough to go ahead and pull that back out. So now we can go ahead and get our caliper back into position and reinstall our factory 18mm mounting bolts. So we get it off the hanger here. Set that aside. Go ahead and get our caliper back into position. Get our mounting bolts in. We can go ahead and get these tightened back down. And again, we're going to use our 18mm socket on our ratchet. And remember, when tightening these down, you always want to refer to the manufacturer's specific torque specifications for any hardware on your brake system. Now we can go ahead and install our new pads. So we'll start with our back one here. And just like they came out, we'll go ahead and get those gently seated, and you want to line them up with your slider pin holes. So we've got the back one in, we'll go ahead and put the front one in. And that's the same way. Just going to slide it right into place and line it up with our slider pins. Now we can go ahead and get our new slider pins installed. Now it's always a good idea if you're doing this at home to add some grease or something protective as well as a lubricant to these pins to prevent them from corroding, which will cause premature brake wear or failure of your brake system. If your pads get stuck, you're not going to have braking power, and that's going to be a bad day. Go ahead and insert these. They're fully seated. Now if you find these a little bit difficult to get them installed, you can go ahead and grab your needle nose pliers again. And use those to kind of help you work these into place. So now once you've got this process complete for this side, you can go ahead and repeat these steps for the other side. Just remember, after you install your new brakes, you do want to pump your pedal before you attempt to move the vehicle, and also check your fluid level because you want to rebuild that brake pressure that was lost when you compressed your calipers. So now that we have our pins and our safety retainers in for our slider pins, we can go ahead and add our clip here for our pads. So we're going to grab our bottom end of our clip and kind of push in on these side pins here to get them to go in between our pads. We're going to hook the bottom of our clip onto our slider pin. We're going to come to the top, kind of do the same thing, get that in there. Now once we get here, you may need to grab your flathead screwdriver or something to help you with some leverage, or you can just kind of push down in the middle, and that should give you the leverage you need to get that over the end. So now we come to the rear of our vehicle, and first we're going to go ahead and disconnect the connector for our electronic parking brake just to make sure that's not functioning, and you also want to make sure it's disengaged from inside the vehicle if your vehicle is equipped with one. So to disconnect this, we'll go ahead and pull back on our red safety tab here, push down on our clip, go ahead and remove our connector, make sure that's out of the way. So next we will have to remove our two slider pin bolts holding our main part of our caliper to our bracket. So we're going to have to remove these two 14mm bolts here, top and bottom. So we'll use our 14mm socket on our ratchet to do so. And just like the front, you want to get one loose but not all the way out, just to prevent anything from spinning. And we'll go ahead and get our bottom one off. Go ahead and set our slider pin bolts aside, and then we can go ahead and remove our caliper from our bracket. And for this, we're just going to set our caliper up here on our leaf spring. So it's a nice little platform that'll prevent any excess pressure or tension on our brake line. So next we can go ahead and remove our pads from our caliper bracket. So we'll go ahead and simply pop those out. And just like the front one, the rear one's going to be the same. So just go ahead and work that out of its spot. And then set those aside. So now we can go ahead and remove our caliper bracket itself. And to do that, we're going to remove our 2 caliper bracket bolts, which are 18. So we'll grab our 18mm socket again on our ratchet and go ahead and pop these off. Just like before, we're going to leave this a little bit in there so it prevents any pivoting of our bracket when we go ahead and get this top one off. Now if you notice there's a struggle here from the factory, these bolts actually do come with red Loctite on them. Don't know why they do that, but it will make it a little bit strenuous to get them off for the first time. But after that, you can wire wheel the Loctite off. And as long as you're torquing it to the specifications, you shouldn't need Loctite. Go ahead and get our bolts out here. This one's still a little tight. Then we'll go ahead and remove our bracket and set that aside. So now we're ready to remove our rotor, but first we do need to go ahead and remove this factory set screw from our rotor itself. And these, again, from the factory are pretty tight in there and they're kind of a pain to get out. So you will need an impact driver and a hammer, or as we have here, essentially an impact driver attachment for our air hammer, along with a T30 impact Torx bit. So we'll go ahead and run this out. We're just going to hit it lightly and apply a slight amount of pressure to our handle to get it to start turning. So now we'll go ahead and get our bit into our set screw here and just start working it out. Once they break loose, you should be able to just turn it right out like so. Go ahead and run that all the way out. And again, you don't have to return these into the rotor when you're replacing them. You can if you want, but they serve no actual functional purpose. They're just to hold a rotor in place as it's going down the line. So now that we have that out, we can go ahead and remove our rotor. And then once you have this process complete for this side, you can go ahead and repeat these same steps for your other side. So now we're ready to get our rear brakes installed, and again, we're going to go ahead and start off with our new rotor. So go ahead and get that onto our studs. And again, we're going to go ahead and reuse our retaining screw for our rotor. Again, if you don't have this, if it's already been taken off on a used vehicle or something like that, you can always just use a wheel lug nut, screw it onto your stud, and it'll hold your rotor just the same. That's the only purpose this thing serves. So we'll go ahead and get that tightened down again with our T30 Torx bit on our ratchet. So before we reinstall our bracket, we are going to swap our old retainer clips here for our pads out for our new ones. So we've got our flathead screwdriver. We're just going to pop these out. Make sure to wear glasses and watch your face, because these do tend to come out pretty quickly. And they just pop out just like that. Now sometimes they're a little bit easier, but if your bracket is corroded like ours, they tend to stick, so you can go ahead and just use a flathead, pop them right off. So now we'll get our new ones in place, and they go in just the same as the old ones came off. Just pop them right on here. They tend to be a little bit stiff. So after you've got your clip on, go ahead and seat it into place. Make sure it's all the way down. Then go ahead and repeat the same process for the other 3 clips. So now we've got all our new clips on, and we're ready to go ahead and put our bracket back on, reusing our 2 18mm bolts to mount it in place. Now we'll go ahead and get our bracket back into place. and reinstall our mounting hardware. And something that a lot of people don't really mention when doing this type of work at home, but is good practice, is if you have a wire wheel available to you, always wire wheel your mounting hardware just to clean any corrosion up. It makes things so much easier going back together. So now we'll grab our 18mm socket on our ratchet and tighten this back down. So now we're going to go ahead and compress our rear caliper piston, and this is a screw style, so you will need an appropriate piston compressor tool for this specific style. So we'll go ahead and get this seated into our caliper here. We'll go ahead and put some tension on it. We can go ahead and turn our piston back in. Now you do want to watch your cover here and seal for your piston itself. Now we've got that all the way seated. Go ahead and remove our tool. So now we're ready to go ahead and install our pads. So same way they went out, this is the way they're going to go in. Start with our front one here. Go ahead and get it into our clip. Now being new clips, these tend to be somewhat stubborn at first, but just patient with them. Work it into place. It may take you a couple tries. Go ahead and properly seat that. Make sure it's up against your rotor. And we'll go ahead and get our back pad installed. Once you've got your back one in, go ahead and seat that as well. Make sure that's up against your rotor. And then we can go ahead and reinstall our caliper. Now we've got our caliper getting put back into place here. You just want to make sure it seats properly into your back pad here. So now that we have our caliper back in place, we can go ahead and reinstall our slider pin bolts. Then we'll go ahead and tighten these back down. So now we can go ahead and tighten down our slider pin mounting bolts using our 14mm socket on our ratchet. Now once you have that done, you can go ahead and plug your electronic parking brake back in. Make sure it seats all the way. Push your red safety tab back in. And once you've completed this process for this side, you can go ahead and repeat these same steps for the other side. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our Z36 Extreme Truck and Tow 6-lug brake rotor and pad kit, front and rear, for your 19 current Silverado 1500. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.